I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm doing a podcast with David Starkey, so I'll be able to share it on my YouTube channel too once it's been released on David's. So that should be fun. Nigel Farage getting a bit of stick at the moment because he's made a comment about agreeing with Enoch Powell about the EU and immigration. Well, Enoch Powell was correct, and it's a misconception that Enoch Powell was actually racist. Enoch Powell respected other cultures, especially the Commonwealth. He spoke multiple languages. If he ever worked there, he worked in India a lot, he decided to learn their language. The thing that Enoch Powell was well known for, but it's not publicised lately because they concentrate on his rivers of blood speech and weaponise it against anybody who thinks like us. Enoch Powell brought 18,000 doctors over during the 1960s. He was health minister from 60 to 63, and he was the man behind the idea to bring people in from the Commonwealth, because in India, for instance, they trained for medical practitioners in English, which made it easier, and British doctors were reluctant to work in poverty-stricken communities and mining villages. So Powell decided to take the initiative and bring these people in. 18,000 is an awful lot of medical care. And the fact that he later complained about the prolificness of immigration was more to do with capacity, not racial hatred. And sadly, he's been proven to be right with what's gone on. Nobody expected immigration to get abused so much that people will be wandering around our cities on mopeds with machetes, in backpacks, stealing things like jewellery. People don't even go into city centres in decent jewellery anymore because the decline in our society has been so swift. So to claim that Enoch Powell is a racist, I think is very disingenuous and ignoring all the many benefits that this man brought to politics. If he hadn't have made his rivers of blood speech, all that knowledge that he had about how we could see things were going to unfold with the amount of people coming in and how the interpretation of how they saw British life, if he'd have kept it to himself until he became leader of the Tories and subsequently would have been the PM, he could have turned that into legislation, which would have avoided a lot of the pitfalls that we now see. And I don't think he would have even joined the EU. I think he would have got us out. Margaret Thatcher was against the EU at a later date. She was all for it at first and then she backtracked. But I do think it's not fair on the man. He was a highly respected military strategist. He was intelligent and he saw problems. We now have MPs that don't see anything but their own gravy train. They go into the university system and they come out and go and work as a SPAD or an aide in Parliament, and the next stage is to become an MP. And these people are running our lives. These people will decide how much your mortgage is or your interest. And as you can see with Rachel Reeves, by Lego, they're not up to the job. I mean, the Mirror put a comment out yesterday that this exceptional Chancellor, singing her praises simply because she's female. This was the same woman who was blubbing in Parliament. I mean, I don't want to see my front bench all tearful and crying because something's going wrong in the personal life. I want you to shelve your personal life, concentrate on your job, because you're running all our lives or ruin them. And that's how it's going at the moment. So I think it's only fair that Enoch Powell gets some support in his memory of being a good politician, a fair and reasonable politician who wasn't at all racist. Then you get from the other side, if there's a man on Twitter particularly who went to Nigel Farage's school accusing him of anti-Semitism for some comment he made when he was 12. Well, I think a lot of kids are unreasonable when they're 12 and there's no actual proof it was ever said. I got bullied as a kid, foul bullying, because of the scar on my neck, and I had buck teeth. I mean, I wasn't a looker. Could frighten a bloody police force, to be honest. And it was unpleasant. I cried myself to sleep and I didn't want to go to school. In your early teens, you know how sensitive you are. But, you get over yourself. I mean, it was wicked what happened to me. It destroyed my morale. But I got over it. In fact, 2 of the buggers that did it are on my friends list on Facebook. I don't go holding grudges 50 years later just because it's fashionable to kick off about hurty words. And there's no actual proof that Nigel said it. Don't you find it strange that so many people are out to attack him right now from all ends? I mean, how could anybody even assimilate somebody who believes in free markets, free speech, free enterprise, less government in your life, could even be assimilated with anything like fascism? It's just bonkers. It's just an excuse to dampen the ardour down that the public feel for him at the moment, because what we've got on offer from the other two teams is just appalling. Kemi Badenoch making good speeches, and so what? You had 14 years of the power base. Why didn't you do something with it? You've not stopped the boats. In fact, you're the ones that put them in hotels, and you're the ones that started Serco contracts. So let's not beat about the bush here. Keir Starmer might be the worst thing we've ever had, but he's only using Tory legislation, whether it be net zero, migration. It's all Tory legislation that they're falling back on. So I just think it's time to stand up and be counted. And I think Enoch Powell was a very intelligent man. He wasn't racist. And I think he will be mortified to think that people in this country will call him that. But it's only the left who weaponised the speech that he made. It's not reality at all. Because if nothing else to fight with, it's like this perpetual drip feed misinformation that Nigel Farage is going to privatise the NHS. No, he's not. He's going to improve it, because it's actually buggered already. They outsource everything. They outsource cleaning. They outsource cooking. They outsource some bed capacity. They outsource transportation. They've got buildings that they own that they could sell on and get some money back in. They pay far too much for managers, 75 grand a year for a DEI inclusivity manager. I'm not bothered about inclusivity. I'm bothered about, is the doctor any good? Do the nurses turn up? Are they kind and thoughtful? Do they understand English as a first language? And if not, do they understand it enough to understand some poor elderly patient who can't hear very well, who feels vulnerable on a geriatric ward? I'm interested in real care. So we're still under attack in this country by people who actually live in it and run it. And I just see it as my duty to try, as I might, to put it across to people, to stand up for yourselves in a pleasant and polite way, talk to other people about how things are going wrong and how we haven't actually lost it yet. We might have lost the power base to something highly unsuitable, but it doesn't mean we can't get it back. It's the first time in history, I think, where the old adage of if voting counted, they wouldn't let you do it, where I think that doesn't apply anymore. Voting is probably the most important thing you can do at council level particularly, and in any general election. Don't forget to follow the channel. If you subscribe, it's free and it helps my reach, which is good for me. It gets the message out more. And thanks to all those who have subscribed and new people who have joined us. I'm not professional, it's just me sharing my opinion. And half the reason it's popular is because I know it's yours too.